money calling my name. What a shame, I'm just a slave to this dirty game.
So I just want to say last night was, man, I can't even put it into words. To have that much family in the building at one time and us fellowship and just celebrate my grandma was, man, that was awesome. And then if you know the ladies in my family, you know just the support and love they got. We was able to do the first Queen's Talk, and it was cool. It was cool. I'm editing it now, getting it ready to make it to a video now. So I just hope that we pay homage to my grandma, and we just pay homage to the ladies. I wanted to have women in my family be able to sit down with me, speak, have a voice. I was able to cut my cousin Cheryl hair. That was dope. And I want to say, Grandma, I'm sorry. In the video, my the back of my shirt was up a little bit, so I know you would have frowned on that, but my bad. But the rest of it was just A1. It was a good time. It's unfortunate that the family had to be together for those circumstances, but nonetheless, like, it was a good time. So I think this video dope. Y'all should check it out. That's Cut Talk.
You doing Cut Talk ski really?
Hey!
Alright, this
Down
is
with nephew.
Yeah, nephew.
Cut Talk special edition.
Absolutely.
The beautiful ladies here, and we just gonna go with it.
Woo! Yes.
We got cousin auntie special going on.
Handle it. Handle it.
Yes.
So I have no itinerary plan, no schedule. So we just gonna, one of y'all pick something y'all want to talk about. And we're gonna ride with it.
I want to talk about women's
TT.
hair.
Yeah.
Start
friends.
get out the way. Yeah.
Yes.
So what about it?
So for now, so what are you seeing or what do you hear in terms of, for example, with men, do they like women with short hair, or do you find that if they like women with longer hair?
Can I get personal?
I want
I
yeah.
can't speak for every woman or every man, but what I've noticed is women who are just naturally pretty with that short hair look, it do something for me.
See, there you go.
It do
That
something for me.
we good.
Y'all I had a template as a young so but it just I don't know what it is, but like it just helps bring out everything else that's in here. So I like it, and like it's starting to become more common too.
Yeah.
I've got friends who have been processing and wearing the long hair for years.
Yeah.
I had a friend who came back one day. I hadn't seen her in about 6 months.
Yeah.
And she stepped through the door of the building where she worked, and I didn't recognize her. But she had short hair.
Yeah.
She had let it go salt and pepper. She had a fade better than mine. And she had changed her whole persona.
Yeah.
And she said, I feel like a whole new girl.
You know, too, I think also we're realizing that it's okay to have that short hair. You can still look real feminine with it. And I think also we're also learning that we need to take care of our hair better because a lot of those chemicals just are not good on our hair.
So let me ask y'all this: like back in the day when y'all was younger, was it like that was just the thing? Y'all trying to get a perm?
Absolutely.
No, I had an afro.
Okay.
That's right, she
No, it wasn't.
She had the answer. She was like this. She had that big old fro.
And I remember to this day, my grandmother, my mother's mother, I was in high school when I first got it, and she came over our house. And she was sitting in the living room. She said, come here a second. She looked at this. She started patting it. She said, nah, I don't like this. Oh, I just got, but my mother and my father were really big. She did not, because, you know, you got your hair pressed.
So that was the spin. What changed it? What was the thing that just like, okay, skip all that, we're doing this? What was the event that just made y'all say, okay, I'm rocking the natural?
I think it was that it's kind of like the fade now with women for their hair. The more that you saw women with the
Right.
and it was like a fade. It could be a huge afro like Angela Davis,
Yep.
or it could be cut real close. But that was the thing then, and then the more you saw it, the more you saw women.
Doing and being
Doing
comfortable. You start seeing models
And the
also.
thing is,
Yeah.
in corporate,
Yeah.
in corporate,
Yeah, yeah.
initially
Yeah.
couldn't do it. And when I was in corporate, I wore my hair like that. I walked in one day and it was all gone.
Yeah. They're
And
not used to that.
they were panicking. They were like, "Oh my God, your customers are." My customers love it.
Because you walk with a sense of
Loved
confidence.
it.
I
Oh
think,
yeah,
when
when
you
they
have
didn't
your hair
care because
short.
I was taken care of.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah. Bringing in the
You walk
money,
with
son.
confidence
That
with it, too. But I know for Cheryl with your hair, you had, remember how long Cheryl's hair was?
Yeah.
Oh
That's
my
why she had that big
goodness.
afro.
It was huge.
You
But,
went
but you know,
Susan.
Grandpa Lewis, so
Oh God.
he was a long hair man because that's where he came from. So
Okay.
I never forget the time when we went to visit in Detroit, and I had gotten my hair cut. I was like the last one of you all to get my hair cut, and he must have laid Mama out because he said, "Why in the world would you let a girl get a haircut?" Because he believed in that. You know, he's from Louisiana.
Okay.
And you know, they still leave the brown paper bag thing and all the long hair and all that. So, but he could not believe that she allowed me to get my hair cut. Because that's that generation that believed in that.
But Daddy
So,
thought that for a
a
long
long
time,
time.
and he was like, "A black
Grandpa
woman's
thought that for a long
beauty
time.
is her hair."
Pause, okay.
Thinking about daddy. Grandpa.
So in terms of back in the day, and I'm cute with the hair, but I'm gonna add some stuff into it. When y'all said there was a standard that y'all had to be in terms of keeping your hair, was that standard with other stuff too? I gotta have straight hair. I gotta act like this. I gotta do like. How did that take a toll on y'all? Did y'all ever feel like, man, this ain't right? Did y'all ever was it in here, or are you just like, okay, this is like,
Well, I can speak for Linnell and I. You know, there's certain things that my mother would have liked for us to do.
yeah,
Like, she really wanted us to be in a cotillion.
Okay.
That she just really wanted
yes.
us to be in a cotillion and that kind of thing. But Linnell and I, we were not interested. We like sports. We both
Okay.
love sports.
Yeah.
So those are the kind of things. In fact, Linnell played basketball in high school.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
in Detroit.
Well, you were in Southfield, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
So we just weren't really into the like kind of frilly
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
And we did, you know, it was interesting because we all were in the cotillion. It was just kind of came like, it was, just, as you said, that kind of standard of like what you want to do.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest, I didn't care if I was in it or not, but it was kind of like it was expected
Yeah,
also
yeah,
that we were in the
expected.
cotillion.
Right.
But
So
I had a good time because I was
We had a good
16.
time. We
I
had a
was
lot of
like
friends.
still kind of a tomboy, being
Yeah.
Tracy and what have you.
yeah, that made a difference because
Y'all
That
keep
made
going.
time
Grab
Tommy
the
and I
chair
were in
for
it,
my
so I
mom.
had good friends.
We just were us.
I'm gonna go get
Yeah.
Well, I think that's what I like is that
Oh no,
it wasn't that she stopped trying, but she just allowed us to
Yeah.
be our authentic
Yeah.
self.
Exactly.
That just wasn't what we were interested in.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
Why did you sit with the baby?
Yeah.
I really appreciate that.
And that was okay, you know, and I think that, and I was an athlete too. And I got tired of sweating out my pearls.
Yeah.
And it's like, Mama, you know, it's
I wanna
like,
sit next to
I can't do this thing, but
Can you
every
get that
6
chair
8
in there?
weeks.
And we always carried a parade or pull back.
Question. Back in the day, did they know the effects of what a perm would do? That makes sense. I'm thinking like if somebody knew what that would do. Okay. That makes sense.
Nobody thinks about that. I mean, it was all about, you know, having that straight, slick, bouncy hair. So,
We had to have the Farrah Fawcett feather.
oh yeah, I had a pair of falsies.
Okay, so let me ask y'all all, we just going back to the past. In terms of the guys.
Oh Lord.
Did y'all feel any pressure? Okay, I gotta have a certain look. For the brothers to.
And you know that was a color thing.
Yes,
Light skin.
yes, it was.
Red bone.
Yeah, red bone. I hate that word.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so there was
Absolutely.
the girls that had the straight
Straight
hair, the
hair.
girls
Oh,
that
yeah,
had
straight
hair. Yep.
Yep.
So was there like, cause you know the movie School Days.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was
real.
real.
Yeah.
That was
really,
real.
really for real.
Absolutely.
That's tough.
Absolutely.
Well, I remember when I got my hair cut. What is called my hair cut? Daddy called me Boy Karen.
Yeah. This
Did you say I'm gonna cut my hair? You just went and did it. Did you tell them like I'm?
No, I didn't tell him.
Yep.
So, he did not like.
Because he came from that old school too.
Yeah.
I know when I was pregnant with Courtney,
My
Mommy
hair was
said you
short.
need to let your hair grow so your daughter will know her father from her mother. I'm like, she gonna know. She said that to me. I'm like, no, she will know. Trust me, she will know.
Oh Lord.
But it was just a matter of convenience.
Yeah. And I think even before people went natural, we started going back to braids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We started taking the braids out
Yeah.
and going natural.
Yeah, I would agree. And now I think we're at a point where I know for me, just learning about what we need to do to take care of our hair, things we should not be doing anymore. And we need to go to the dermatologist to find out what's happening. Like, for example, in our family, alopecia runs in our family. So we need to know that and acknowledge that and do certain things now to help take care of our hair and to pass that on to our, younger folks, our nieces, nephews, cousins, because that runs in the family. So on both sides.
Yeah,
So
sure.
we need to do.
And that short hair is beautiful.
Yeah.
It
I just said, Mom.
It
I just
is.
said that, Mom.
It is.
Yeah.
Just said.
There's the lady who I can't remember her name, but she's a representative up in DC, and she had the alopecia, and she was wearing wigs,
She took it off.
and she
Oh,
one day
I remember.
Yes,
She's part of the
she's part of the squad, and she said one day she decided I am not doing this anymore.
Okay.
She took it off,
Of course.
and she is beautiful.
Pause. I want to. We're gonna keep the hair, but I want to throw other stuff in there. So we're talking about hair. Y'all got to a moment where you're like, I could do short hair. As a woman, and I'm still beautiful.
Yeah.
That can't be the only thing. What else in y'all lives? Y'all grew up 60s, 70s. Did y'all feel like, okay, I can do this and it's okay?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What are some
Absolutely.
things that y'all did in y'all life where y'all can say, I'm doing this as a woman and it's okay? Back in y'all day, what was the thing that just, it wasn't the norm, but y'all like, I'm gonna do this.
If I didn't want to wear high heels,
Okay?
if I didn't feel like I wanted to wear nail polish,
Yeah.
if I didn't feel like I wanted to keep my hair the way it was, I did a jury trial with pink hair. And that was sometime like I think 1982.
I love it.
And I won my jury trial.
I bet you did.
Yes.
Like, we're not gonna mess with this lady.
Because they saw you as one of them.
Okay.
I'm
They
telling
saw
you.
you as human,
Another
Exactly.
question.
not
Another
just
question.
soup.
Another question. The sisters, all y'all can attest to this. Y'all know my grandpa, strong will, thought a certain way. So what was the conversation to get him on board? What
I
y'all
didn't
look?
even have
What was no conversation?
No,
You gotta remember the time.
That's what I'm saying. Like, so
You
how
kind
did?
of came back from the beauty parlor and it was
Yeah.
cut, and
Yeah.
so he's looking at you like, oh.
what did he
And then he
do?
really looking at mom because
Oh,
that's what
yeah.
he's looking at like,
Yeah.
you let them do it.
I knew you did.
I don't know who said it, but about pierced ears.
Oh
My
yeah.
mom-
She did not.
Why did not get
Because that's from back in the
I was
day.
just
Because that's what the fast girls wore.
And one day, I'll never forget it. I think I was my last year of high school. And my dad pierced my ears. My
Your
mother
dad?
didn't.
He
He
pierced her ears in the back.
He did?
Okay.
What?
Ice.
Oh.
And well, it was already done when she got home. So what happened?
She got hers done.
The next
She
week, who
did?
got their ears pierced?
Ooh.
In the
My dad
bathroom.
pierced her ears too.
Mm.
But you know, that's how they did it back in the day. When you had the string.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, they did it with the tape.
Right.
I got mine pierced like
Oh,
that.
yeah.
I got mine in college done, and this one girl that was on my wing said, "You want your ears pierced?" And so she came with the eye doing it.
I went to I went to Northridge. I did.
Let's keep flowing, y'all. Let's keep flowing, y'all. Back in that time, and I think one of y'all mentioned her, in terms of women in that movement, who were some ladies y'all just saw? I was like, okay, I like that. I like how you moving. I like what you represent. I can follow that because the ladies get love during civil rights and in Black History Month, but I feel like they don't get they just do. So in terms of who y'all looked up to, who were some names just to educate people who I rock with?
You know, I think for us, what was so great is to have so many women like Grandma,
Okay.
people in our church,
Yeah.
Belle Phillips, people. I mean, we were surrounded by we were surrounded by such excellence. I think that made a big difference, you know, and I think we don't see that as much in the church. And then they also reach back. So I think that made a big. We were surrounded by that. So yeah, there were a lot of other, you know, more popular women, and you know, in the industry or in whatever category. But we saw so much right around us that I think that made a huge difference.
And I think that was important for me because, you know, even now, when I'm out here in business and I'm running into these people who are important, it doesn't faze me.
Yes.
It doesn't faze me at all because of the women that I grew up around. And you know, Belle Phillips.
Yeah.
And there you go. And some of the other women who raised us, especially the ones in the sorority, our aunts.
Yeah.
You know, Aunt Mildred, Aunt Avenel, all the man sisters.
Jackie Shropshire.
Jackie Shropshire.
Yes.
You know, Finlayson.
That's right.
You know, when you call those names and you saw the elegance of those women, the intelligence, the power that they wielded. And, you know, I see a lot of these women out here now, and it's like, y'all ain't got nothing on the women.
Okay, Auntie, pause. Let me ask. Compared to the women now, and you just said, basically, what I'm getting is it take a village.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So, in terms of, I know y'all aware and y'all alert in terms of the modern day Black woman and how we portray. What would you think would help the young sisters now in terms of just?
You don't really want to know.
Well, you in the court system, so you know you see a
Speak
lot.
to it better than you talk.
With Sheila first.
I
Yes.
think we have to continue to set the example.
Absolutely.
I mean,
They don't want to see the example.
They may not,
They think
but
you're it.
we have to continue to represent
children
where
out there.
we came from.
That's right.
And to, I think part of it is you have to be willing to stand for what you believe.
Yeah.
And you have to not just say it, but you have to show it.
That's right.
And people
Absolutely.
will either,
Absolutely.
they will either buy into it or they won't. It's like, you know, when we were growing up, it's not really, it is different, but it isn't.
The difference now though is that we're up against social media.
Yes.
And the stereotypes that the media show portrays us.
Yes, exactly.
Exactly.
Bad Black women.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when you're
We're gonna get to that next. Hold on to that, Auntie. Hold on to that. Keep going, Mom.
But also the look of what,
yeah.
you know,
It's out
is out there as well.
Yeah.
And we see that, I see that a lot in South Florida where I live. You know, and it makes it very difficult for women like the crew that I run with
Yeah.
who, when I step out, you know, and we coming in to do serious business, it's St. John knit.
Right.
It's the right kind of shoes. We walking in with the briefcase. We're speaking proper English, and
Like we're not saying Fond du Lac, it's Fond du
Say
Lac.
it again. Say
and specifically
Yeah.
with an SPSEC, not specifically. So it's a whole different realm, and even with regard to how Black women are perceived. And I've noticed that a lot of the people who are in, quote, business industry, whatever you want to call it, are not accustomed to shelf readiness that we all bring.
For
And
instance, I wanted to do a topic. I want this topic to be organized and finished. Let's see, today is Saturday.
Right.
By Monday.
Right.
Well, we have to have a few meetings. No, you don't. I'll do it myself. I'll have it done tomorrow.
Right.
They can't think ahead.
Let me pause. You making me go somewhere. In y'all careers, because y'all work in corporate, you work in certain environments where y'all are minority,
Yeah.
color,
Absolutely.
and
Yeah.
sex.
Yes.
How did y'all ever feel like, okay, I gotta dial back who I am a little bit
No.
to fit in?
No.
Okay, stay there. This for somebody too.
But I think
So-
some people do.
Yeah.
Some that's what I'm getting. Some people did.
Yeah.
But I give y'all credit to say that y'all didn't. How
I'm not
did
gonna say I
y'all-
didn't.
How
I'm
did
not gonna say I
how did y'all maneuver that? I'm a big who I am unapologetically.
didn't.
If they
Yeah.
fire me, they fire me. It is what it is. So
But
how did y'all go about
you
that?
know, you have, that's a balance. There is
Okay.
a balance. You
Speak
still
on it,
got,
speak on it.
you still have to work. You still have to,
Yeah.
because for me, I came into the technology industry. You
Yeah.
know, I was, there weren't women in general that were
Yeah.
around me. And then with Black women, for sure there were.
Yeah.
So there, you know, I always was the one seen like, she doesn't know what she's talking about, you know, because I started out my career at IBM.
Yeah.
And that was very much just a white male, you know, or foreigners in the technology industry. So you never really got that chance to really do what you want to do. I mean, that cement wall hit you hard, quick.
Yeah.
It was just there. So you did have to, I would say you do have to compromise some. You do have to kind of balance it out. And I'm not going to say play dumb, because I never play dumb.
Yeah, facts.
But you do have to balance out, you know, trying to make them feel comfortable to get what you want.
Yeah.
You can be smart about it.
Yeah.
You're not giving in. You're being smart about it.
Right.
Doing it that way.
And I feel like whatever I did, and I think that's just how we grew up. I wanted to be something of excellence because I was all about lifting up somebody that's coming behind me.
Right.
So
Yes.
whatever I did, it's, you know, back in the day they were, you know, people were called sellouts.
Yes,
Right.
yes. they
But
were.
I think
Yes,
it's
they
like
were.
Elaine said, you had to walk that fine line.
Yeah.
But in my mind, I was always thinking about bringing up that next person who's behind me so that it will be easier,
For them.
hopefully, for that person, and then
Yes.
they will lift the next person up.
Absolutely.
So that and sometimes we get so caught up.
Yep. It's like crabs in the bucket.
Yes.
Yes.
So I wanted to just, you know, whatever I did, even now, even though I work for a very small organization, it's like for the next person, whoever that might be, I want them to be even better.
Yeah.
Right.
And I want them to have the opportunities that maybe I didn't have, but I love my job, but it's for me it's about service. How can I serve the next person coming up?
Absolutely.
And that's one thing that I see, because I've been an entrepreneur for over 3 decades. And like you. And one of the things now that I'm seeing is that I want to be able to bring in young people, young entrepreneurs in this field because it's not easy to get an engagement. They will not hire you.
That's right.
So I'm bringing in another tier
Mm-hmm.
of people to teach them the business of the business, because they don't know.
Right.
And then certify them in those tools. And I think to Cheryl's point, that's what we have to do. But I'm also seeing that, you know, those in those younger generations are running away
Yeah.
from it, not understanding the importance of the fact that there is a certain road that you have to travel.
Yeah, it's not just
It's
automatic.
just not automatic.
Yeah.
And let somebody take you by the hand, because guess what you're teaching us to?
That's true.
Let us teach each other.
And I think in corporate America, like when we came up, there weren't many women
No.
at all, so we had to kind of fight our way up. So
We
for
did.
me, it was always, I had to be better than my
Yeah.
counterpart. So I always pushed
Absolutely.
for perfection, because you weren't gonna be able to tell me I didn't know something.
Average was
Even
not
though
good
I
enough.
did got passed over, I was gonna be better than my
Absolutely.
counterpart. And I think it's a little bit different now because we see more minorities out there,
Right.
women. So we had to fight a little bit different.
Yeah.
We had to try to open up some doors, and, you know, it was tough. So
But
you had people didn't like it all the
I
time.
also want to make sure they're able to stay there.
Right.
And so often, as I tell students that I teach in college and university, and as I tell people, as I know them and like, would you like to go to such and such with me? They don't understand what I'm trying to do is to meet people.
Yeah.
Right.
The network,
Right.
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 Yes, yes.
There was a person who was talking to people, and they were from where she was. And then she says, oh, I've never heard of that before. I nudged her, I said, oh, did you want to get some punch? I said, you don't do that. I said, you haven't heard of it. You a cell phone or a tablet in your purse. You go out, you look it up, you come back and join the conversation instead of saying, I didn't know, because for all you know, they may have been discussing you so you could do a promotion. But you won't get it if you're standing there saying you never heard of it.
Right, true. Exactly. And those are things that don't teach you in school.
Right.
Buddy.
Well, again, it
ahead,
also
Mom.
comes to be, like how we were talking the other day about being spoken into.
Yeah.
If you are not spoken into at a young age,
Yes.
That is
it's so hard
It is.
to get that growth.
Yeah, it is.
You know, for myself, when I started out in a radio.
I remember that.
And starting out in radio, I was the only black account executive in the studio. So I was already starting out 10 paces back, and you weren't getting anything. No one was teaching you because you were a person of color,
Yeah.
or you kind of had to learn.
That's right. Because they definitely weren't sharing. No.
They weren't
They're not
sharing.
sharing.
Butt in, y'all. Let me butt in.
Oh, okay,
Butt in.
yes. Oh,
Butt in.
come
I'm
on.
gonna take the conversation
Come on.
a little bit deeper, and I feel like this is something that has to be talked about. So elephant in the room, and I want all y'all to speak on this. I hear what y'all saying in terms of like barriers y'all had to go through. But right now, and I think y'all might agree, I feel like it's a disconnect between men and women. I feel like it's a clash, and I feel like it's not enough this. We all coming together and we speaking together. It's almost she don't know nothing, or he ain't nothing. He here because he white, she here because she a woman. But it's no like, no, she here because she's smart. Or she's here because he's here because he's qualified to be here. So I need y'all to, and it might just be me talking, but I need y'all to elaborate. There's a real, instead of men and women coming together, it's just a disconnect.
You mean in the workplace? Or just
In the
general?
workplace and just in general. I feel like marriages is down, you know, and I feel it's real, especially in our community. We be
Yes,
frank
it
about
is.
it. So I need y'all to talk about what you think caused that friction between
There's
in our
so many
community.
levels.
Well, y'all, we got time today, so y'all can each.
I mean,
What's starting, and how can that friction be erased? What are some steps? Because men and women need each other.
Yeah, I
At the end of the
think
day, we need each other.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, we do.
women are good at certain stuff, men are good at certain stuff, but together we don't.
I think as we were growing up and our parents were and their parents were, it was all about the family. There was a family
There you go.
structure there. You know, we ate at the table together.
Yeah.
You know, there was
Born
this
now.
sense of family that I think we have lost. And I
Yes.
personally, everything has its moment. I am not a techie guru at all. I like it. I
Yeah.
like learning. I think that technology has, in general, as a human race, created a void that we had growing up. Because we didn't have, I mean, yeah, I guess I'm going to date myself now. I didn't have no computer. There was no cell phone.
I think we all remember we
No
had
Wi-Fi. I didn't have no calculator.
I'm a Texas instrument, but
Right. I mean, there were things that I think when we were growing up, our parents, their parents, that caused us to be together.
Yeah.
More so, and I
And
think-
talk to one another.
And talk to one another, communicate with one. Are we always going to agree? No, we're not. But I think that is what is so wonderful about the male and female relationship. But you have to be willing to be open, and this just in general for anybody. Be willing to open up and listen.
There you go.
And you know, the word says, "Be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to anger."
Yeah.
And everybody wants to be right.
You're right.
Say it
Yeah.
again.
Say
Say it again,
it. Say it, sir.
You can't be right all the time. I mean, sometimes, and it doesn't mean that maybe you still don't agree with that person, but everybody has a right to speak their truth.
Yeah.
Right.
But I think that's the thing, is that we have to be comfortable in being our authentic selves. And I'm still learning that lesson.
Right.
We all got stuff, but feel good in your own skin.
Yeah.
And be open to learning about people. People are so interesting. They are so interesting. Sometimes just sit down and don't say nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
Observe.
I mean, we speak to people in different ways. We communicate in different. Look at somebody's eyes. Look at their hands. What's their body language? How are they? There's a way you can say something. You can say the same thing. It'll come out, but it's how you say it.
Exactly.
You can have a whole conversation. You can have yes. So I think that, to me, we got to get back to basics.
Yeah, that's true. And some of those basics are our faith too. I
Yeah.
think that
Say it
is
again,
what
Auntie.
has,
Say it
that is
again,
what's
Auntie.
lacking. That is, we see that. And I think one thing, and Mr. Johnny's sitting over there, you know, that we try to do is keep that strong. I think, you know, so when we go through issues, you know, we'll find if there's a class in our church, you know, we've taken some of those classes, so, you know, to get back to how we should communicate better. And being around other Christians who have difficulties. Just because you're a Christian, when you have difficulties in your marriage or your relationship. Because exactly, the devil's coming hard. When he knows that you're trying to walk the right line. So I think that faith part is lacking in a lot of relationships. Because they're, you know, not saying that you have to be up in church every day, because we're not that. But, you know, we have the foundation that's there, and we know the word. We know what the word says. And so we try to live that word. And then also try to surround ourselves with people, with other believers, and who believe in a solid marriage and that foundation of bringing Christ into that.
And that's one thing. That's one thing that we do, because I'm in my second marriage, and that is one thing that we have. That spiritual foundation. And it's you know, we're not sitting there quoting and reading the Bible every night and every day. But I know that my husband has that strong spirituality, and he's grounded. And one of the things that I talked to him about when I knew he was like not going anywhere, and it was like going more towards that marriage thing. And I told him, I said, I am not gonna give up who I am. And I said, you know, my friends have been here through thick and thin. I'm not giving up my friends.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, I'm a successful businesswoman, and that's not gonna change. Can you live with that? And he was like, is that all? I'm like, oh. You want something else? But, I mean, you gotta have those kind of conversations. Because I tell him all the time, I said, you know your wife's crazy, right? And he's like,
Say yeah.
he's like, he doesn't answer, but he'll give me that smile, and he's like, yeah. I said, but you know I love you, and I know you love me, and I know that I don't have to worry about you not having my back. I said, because if there's one thing I need out here, if I've got to have a significant other, and that be you, I need to know you got my back. Because I'm going to have yours. And that man has got my back.
I'd be curious because I know you just went through some things. So communication, I'm sure you could talk to that real too. The lack of, or I mean, I'm sure you have definitely some opinions.
And I think you all bring up a great point in the spiritual part. I think if we had that, we could have probably gotten through things better, you know, and together. Where I'm very much into church and very much involved, and he wasn't, you know. And, you know, it gotta be, and it wasn't even that he wasn't a believer, but gotta be on the same page, you know, I wish that we could have gone to couples class together, you know, and just had those conversations, and when things were hard, just prayed together, you know, and gone to the Word and got, because we probably could have got something at that point.
I'm gonna slide one caveat, and I'm gonna run some that. I'm not gonna run some feathers, but we got time tonight. So, in a spiritual household, biblical household, in terms of roles and God's roles for a couple, how easy or hard was it for y'all to accept that your husband is a man of the house?
It's no problem with this. We had no problem with that.
Ladies today,
Yeah.
y'all take that. I'm gonna go back in
I
here.
think we
But that's
everyone has a role.
I think that, everyone has a role, and it's all about how you work together.
That's the key.
Right.
That's the key together.
Because I mean, somebody got to be in charge. I'm laughing because I belong to dance ministry at church.
Yeah.
And there's sisters. And one sister's married, one sister's divorced. And I just get tickled because she is just so laid back. I don't think anything ruffles her. You know, she just kind of quietly does her thing, takes care of business. But we had this conversation, and you know, she just said she just kind of like let her husband think he's doing what you don't. You think you in charge?
We need that. I'm gonna be vulnerable. We need that. We be vulnerable. We need
Because she is not. She's very low key. Don't let the smooth taste food.
Grandma.
So
absolutely.
she's not gonna let nobody run over her. But it's like, hey, if he wanted, okay. I don't have no problem with it, except but
One less thing I have to do.
Unless
they don't think you're trying.
That is very true.
But I think that's the thing is, though, we don't have to wear the S on our chest.
that's
We don't
true.
have to have the cake flying in there. We don't have to have it.
And you know, we
We also
have,
need to learn to take it off. We do.
And
We
take
do
it
wear
off.
sometimes too much. So we can't deny that you keep it on too much sometimes. I know we have to rip it off because that is. I think that's all of us kind of tight stuff.
Yeah.
Well, we can always go to the garage and scream.
There you
Come
go.
back in and say, hi, honey, what did you do?
Okay, so
Because
let's,
nobody's gonna hear you in the garage.
and I want y'all to speak to young ladies today, because I feel
Yeah.
like young women today, my age and younger, need to hear this. But y'all are strong-willed women.
Yeah,
That's
very
a
much
fact.
so.
Like, it's brewing. Huh?
Very much so.
I'm in the Shark Den right now.
Yep, you are.
But for y'all to submit to a man and knowing who y'all are, what about a man? And we're gonna I'll give Johnny some flowers. What about, cause knowing who y'all daddy is, y'all daddy is too. What about a man is gonna make y'all go, okay, you can be the head of my household?
Well, I'm looking.
We gonna talk. So I want y'all.
No.
Y'all go around the room.
We
What?
both gonna be the head of the household.
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
if
Our
you
roles
both are
defined.
thinking, even if one is 40% and the
Right.
other, you're both the head. No one should be feeling or told they're
Yeah.
lesser than the other.
Yeah.
Right.
Because they're important, otherwise they wouldn't be there.
Right.
When I say be there, I mean
Yeah.
us allowing them to still be
Yeah.
in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you don't want anything negative with you, your family, your children, your job.
Right.
So we're looking at, let's say, what can we do together?
Right.
We're gonna do the lawn, fine. I'll do the shoveling.
Right.
You're gonna
Right.
wash
Hey,
out
auntie.
the car.
There's some things that one partner will do better than
The
the
other.
other.
Yeah.
And so, like, I mean, we've been
That's
married.
everything. Yeah.
Yeah, we've been married 37 years,
Mhm.
and I'm not a good cook. I'll shut up.
Yes, you are, mama. Don't do yourself
Don't
like
tell
that. Yes, you are, mama. Don't do yourself like that, mama.
But I'm not. I mean,
He's talking about cooking eggs.
He stood up. He said, yes,
well, I think
I don't know.
But if
But-
they had
a
a
household,
has
Right.
changed. That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. It has changed.
But I mean, when you look at our respective mothers,
Right.
our respective mothers were no joke.
Right.
No, that's powerhouses in their own right.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I used to sit and watch mom, and when she was in her professional capacity or in her community leadership, like Aunt Avenel,
Same thing.
she was that powerhouse. She was up
Yeah.
front. But
Exactly.
when she was with daddy,
They allowed them to be.
they allowed them to be in that center
Yes.
stage. So
Exactly.
it's understanding your role
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly.
and that doesn't make you any less of a woman.
Yeah.
Right.
There you go.
Right.
Say that.
It makes you
That's
even
it.
more of a powerful woman.
Exactly.
Because you
Right.
know how to pull it back
Yeah,
and push
exactly.
it forward. I mean, it's like when my husband and I, like you and Johnny, we do work together, but I use my maiden name. So a lot of people don't know that we're husband and wife when we're together. And we do that by design. And oftentimes he's working on my teams that I'm running.
Yeah.
And he will yield to me, but I always tell him my expectations of you are not going to be any different than any of the other team members. But then when we come home,
Right.
which means downstairs, work at home,
Go, auntie, talk your stuff.
it's a whole different
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
life.
Right.
Yeah. Like you,
Yeah.
I only use parent. I rarely use that of the mom.
Right,
Rarely.
But-
people know who I am.
right.
And so does that person.
Yeah, that's right.
You see what I'm
That's right.
saying? Because when you're working, the same type of occupation, that's different from when you come home.
But when we are out doing things personally,
Then you know a whole.
I am Gail Burks Williams,
That's
or I am
right,
Mrs.
that's right.
Williams.
Correct.
And, or if he's in the audience with me and I'm somewhere,
Mhm.
I will tell the people, you will address me as Gail Burks Williams. My husband is here.
Yeah.
Mhm, mhm.
So giving him that respect.
Yes.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
You talk
And-
about
and
the
they
word,
deserve that.
the
They
word
deserve
submission. I think about that when I think about grandpa or dad. When way back, he would always tell me, you know, never be submissive to a man. Now he meant that in a way, never allow anyone to abuse me or that. Because I remember, you know, everybody knows about karate, so that was right. But I remember he would make me free fight with him in the basement because he said, if you're going to fight somebody, it's going to be a man, and I want you to be able to take him out. So that's something that he taught me. So in terms of being submissive, he didn't want me to be submissive from the standpoint of, you know, being harmed or being taken advantage of.
Okay, let's
Right. Yeah.
let's give a good definition of submissive. Because when I say submissive, I don't mean just get on your knees and
Yeah.
your wish is my.
Right,
That's
right.
not biblical
Right.
submission. So I want y'all to let's define that. Let's define that so it gives the conversation more.
Right.
It means
Base.
that you are not there as the help. You're there as the partner.
There you go.
Say it, say it,
There
auntie.
you go.
Say it,
There you
say it,
go.
say it, auntie.
There
Yeah,
you go.
auntie.
About a help
Right.
mate.
Yeah.
Say it, auntie.
Help
Right.
mate.
And that's
So-
biblical.
Right. Yeah.
Help
That's
mate.
right from the Bible.
Soul
Absolutely.
mate.
Right. Soulmates.
You know,
Absolutely.
and you know that's what Adam and Eve did. They worked together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Help mate.
So as helpmate, yes. And
Yeah.
so I think that that's a very good question
Yes.
because there have
Your hair looks so beautiful.
It really
Yes, it
does.
does.
Oh my God.
And the
Yes,
hair
it
and
well,
does.
look who's doing it. I knew it was gonna I got my cousin who hooked me up.
Right.
And it's just looks so soft.
Yeah.
It does.
That's what
Yeah.
Gail was saying, much
Yeah, it does.
thicker.
It does.
But I thank you for asking that question. There was I don't know what this was a while ago that I was looking at something, and there was a woman. It wasn't a podcast. I don't know what it was, but the woman was talking about submission and the word submission, and that women are. How can I phrase this? As a woman, we should do what the man tells us to do because the man is the head of the household. And
And we don't do their biddings though.
but I'm just saying from her
From
perspective,
and that's what
that was
she's thinking.
her, that was what she was thinking. And I'm not saying I'm unique or different or anything, but I think a lot of, what people take in, you have to look at things in terms of context. And to me, I love the word, but there were reasons why things were done the way they were at that time.
At the time.
Yes.
Yeah.
At
Yes.
that time.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So, I think people do have different understandings of what that word is.
Yes.
I do.
I do. I
And
agree.
so that's how they live it out.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's right.
But I think nowadays,
That's
younger
right.
women, if you hear submissive, that is a
You're
turn.
right.
That's a
Yeah.
immediate turn on.
Immediate.
Yeah.
Immediate.
Yeah.
That's why discussion is so good. Because one person may think one way, another person may
Yeah.
think another way, but like we're doing right
Right,
now.
right,
Yeah.
exactly.
You come together and you start talking about it and having discussion,
Yeah.
and it's okay whatever person believes what they believe. Because
Exactly.
that's their
Right.
truth.
Right.
But it might not be my truth.
Right.
That's
And
right.
I think that's part of, when you're asking the question, and about the relationship of the woman and the man, I think for each person, they have to be comfortable in their own skin.
Yeah.
You gotta be comfortable with who you are. You gotta know who you are. If you need some therapy, that's okay.
It is okay.
I ain't got,
It is
I
okay.
tell you right now, nothing wrong with it.
Yeah,
That's right.
exactly.
But again, and Mark, here's another thing. In our community, you didn't go to therapy.
Exactly.
In fact, you didn't
did
say
not.
nothing to nobody.
That's right.
You didn't make nothing known. It's like secrets. It's like,
And we've got to break that in our community. That is
It's starting to
something we
happen.
gotta break.
It's starting to happen. It's starting to happen.
It was a bad thing. Baby.
That's right.
but it's still there.
We still don't want to go to therapy.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Let's transition, y'all. And I'm doing a podcast tomorrow, so I want to talk about a topic I'm going to talk about with them. With y'all, because it only makes sense. But Black History Month, respect to all those common names, Martin Luther King,
Yeah.
Rosa Parks. Respect to them. You know, Booker T. Washington. The names you hear that are common.
All the time.
But I think disconnect happens with Black History Month because it's not personal. Each of us got our own history.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like each of us got somebody who came
Right.
from over here. And some of my friends be like, man, Mark, you got so much stuff going on. You got podcasts, you got trucking, you cut hair, you doing a lot. And like I think about people who came here before me.
Absolutely.
Think about, and I'm gonna get deep. You think about, there was a time when you tried to defend your wife against the master. You made an example out of it. That was a real thing.
Absolutely.
There was a time when the dudes wanted your wife, you had to say,
Yeah.
Yeah.
here
Yep.
you go.
Yeah, absolutely.
If it was a time when, if they wanted to get rid of your child,
Yeah.
Yeah.
they sold your
Sold
child.
your child.
So just thinking about those, the stuff they went through, and it's like, I'm gonna give a scenario for y'all. Let's say my 5 ex-grandfather in slavery could go through a time machine and see my life, see y'all in this room, and somebody asked him, "Hey man, I could set you free right now, or you can continue to go through this, but it's gonna lead to them getting where they are." I think Grandpa would be like, "I'm gonna keep pushing because I see this room, see what my grandbaby's doing, and I'm gonna keep going."
And you know, it's interesting that you say that because I'll never forget a snippet of wisdom your grandfather
Speak to him.
gave us
Yeah.
at the breakfast table one morning on a Sunday morning. We getting ready for the church,
Yeah.
and we were giggling and cutting up.
Yeah.
I mean, Burke's sister style cut up.
Yeah.
And my father was sitting there reading the newspaper,
Yeah.
listening to every word we were saying.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, he lowered that newspaper. And he didn't look at anybody. He just looked straight. He said, "Girls, you have got to bring more to the table than just your smile." And then he did this. And went back to quote, reading his paper. And I can't speak for them. But I know I was like, what just happened here?
I was on my thing.
What just happened here?
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. And he didn't explain what he meant by it. He just put the paper back up, and that was the end of the conversation. I'm like, okay, we just got school.
Yeah.
That, but yeah.
I'm
So I remember that.
That's what I'm
never
getting
forget
at.
that.
Like, I remember my daddy coming home, bloodshot eyes, because he just worked all day. I remember my mama coming home telling us about them people.
Yeah.
We ain't even gotta
Yeah.
elaborate, but you
Yeah.
remember that. So now when it's your time, Auntie just
Yeah.
blessed me with something. I'm gonna remember that. I
Right.
feel like kids today ain't thinking about that. You hear Rosa Parks, I heard that last year. Yeah, so I feel like Black History Month gotta be personal.
I agree.
It's our history month.
Makes so much
So I want
sense.
y'all, this be the last time, I want to keep it down here,
Makes
but
sense.
I want y'all to give some flowers to the people y'all think about. Y'all all successful in here.
All the time.
So when y'all going through something, y'all think about, man, such and such went through this, so I can be here. I want to go around the room, y'all all give each other, who y'all think about when it's rough, that y'all like, okay, they did it, so I can do it. So Whoever, y'all was going there, y'all would have.
Well, I'm gonna say my parents. I'm not gonna know
Yeah.
And you know, our
Shout them
dad,
out, say their name and shout them out real
my
quick.
dad, Robert Burks, I'm putting him first because my dad was a surgeon. So he wasn't around us a lot, you know. He was at the hospital. My dad, he was tough. Well, our dads were the same. Very hard. But the one thing that we can say about our parents was they took care of their family.
Absolutely.
Number one,
And they weren't perfect, but
they weren't perfect. And they were gonna do whatever they could
That's
to
right.
take care of their families. We had things that we needed, and so what that did for me was, when I had my child, I said, she's gonna have everything she needs.
Yep.
I'm gonna pay for her to go to school. I'm gonna pay for this. She's not gonna want it because my parents did that for me.
Absolutely.
And she's gonna do the same thing for her.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
I agree.
I agree.
The other thing, in particular, with both my mom and my dad, at the time that they had us and they were working, but in particular, I can remember my dad telling me stories about, I'll never forget this, when he was at Wayne State, and he was gonna work in a lab. He had applied for medical school, didn't get in, so he was gonna work in a lab. And he had a class at Wayne. I don't know what class it was. He said he walked into the class, and the professor told him, I'm letting you know right now you're not going to pass this class. So, I don't know what you're going to do, but you're not going to pass this class. So, he did, you just do what you got to do. But it's just something, he told me a lot of things. I'm so grateful. Sometimes when I would take him to his appointments, he'd tell me about when he was coming out of medical school, and my dad was a trauma. In trauma you see all kinds of stuff. So he said there was a time where something had happened with the patient, and my dad was definitely a servant leader. And he stood for excellence. And he was going to do everything he could to save his patients. The patient not going to die on me. One of his patients died. And they tried to say that it was because of something that my dad did. My dad had a very good friend that worked at the hospital, Dr. Talbert. Dr. Talbert, I don't care who you are. Dr. Talbot will tell you off in a minute. He, I don't know if he was chief at the time, but he had a position there as a surgeon. And I think they were scared of Dr. Talbot. Because he cursed you out and then walk away. But they were all excellent at what they did. They were really the best. And so Dr. Talbot stood up for my dad. And they had I don't want to call it a hearing, but the patient died, you got to go in, you got to explain what happened. My dad said it was because of Dr. Talbot that they backed off. Because it wasn't, he showed them that the procedure that my dad was telling. See, this is how they would do us, because we don't know, right?
Exactly.
So my dad was trying to tell them, to save this patient, here's what you need to do, and they didn't do it. And the patient died. But they tried to say it was because of my dad. And so Dr. Talbot, even though he looked like us, he had a lot of power there because he was so intelligent. And they knew what he brought to the table. So he explained to them, here's the patient, this is what you should have done, had you done, and he proved it, this patient would have lived. That's what we got to do for one another.
Yeah.
We got to lift each other up. We got to stop being crabs in the barrel.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I'm taking a ball, no time.
And I just want to kind of go back to, we talked about the whole family unit and how we grew up. We had to we ate dinner together, we did family outings, we were bowling, and I think we all grew up together. And as I've sat here this weekend, I see how our upbringing has been passed.
Yes.
And now we're over at your house.
Yeah,
I
know.
Entertaining us.
I know.
Yes. And I just
Down
see
in the
that it's
basement.
going
Down
down.
in the basement. That hasn't changed.
We grown. Up here.
So we
Up
talk
here.
about what's missing and what's needed.
Yeah,
And I
absolutely.
see that that's what's missing these days.
Absolutely. I totally agree.
It is.
That is
Absolutely.
I can remember we do the 17-hour drive from here to Brooklyn. And my grandma Parrish would say, no, I don't want to see you parents, my dad. I want to see the girls first. And you would think that we were getting the third degree, but what she was really trying to do is seeing what the parents were doing with us at the house. And then she'd say, okay, Mildred and Clarence, you can come up now. You all have been doing really well. See what I'm saying?
Getting the information out of the kids.
Yeah. You know, and like they would have eat together. And it wouldn't just be grandma. You know, they'd say, you go down the street there and get grandpa and tell him to come up here. Okay? The cousins, they all did hair. I don't think you all knew it, but my dad still, when he died, kept renewing his license so that he could be in cosmetology. Jonathan has his too. All the cousins do. My mother never did our hair.
Yeah.
Mother didn't cook, she couldn't cook. But I can't. But what I'm getting at is the things that she could do. She did canning, and she taught us how to go and get apples and put them individually in newspaper, put them in boxes in the basement, so you have fresh apples at your acres. So each had its own. But grandma wanted to know. Or we'd go to Worcester, Massachusetts, where my mother was from. Same thing, man and Bubba would be saying, okay, Sheila, you know those accents. Yes, yes. So what's going on? What do you mean? At home, baby. Okay. And then she'd say, oh, okay. Okay, you can have some lemonade now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But you see, it would go on both sides. Both sides, because it was important. So like, if Jonathan, or little Joe, or Jocelyn, that the sister two brothers, would come here, or like when they came to the hospital to see him, do you know, it would be interesting, because I would be asking them questions. What do they do with their families and stuff? And little Joe would say, there she goes again. But it's important, because if you don't have the thread going through the generations, I always say, watch out, the ancestors will get you.
They come back.
That's very important.
That is very
That's
true.
it.
That's true.
I know.
And
They do come back.
Yeah.
You know, I think about for me with Black history. I think because I'm very much into the genealogy and all that. But I think about there's so many people in our line that came through that just the fight they had to go through just to stay alive was ridiculous. But I just think also about because I love my grandpa Lewis. I just love my grandpa Lewis, but because he was a hustler. I respected that. But also, Grandma Lewis was a hustler. Also, she ran the numbers on the street. So remember, we found a numbers book when she passed, cleaned out her stuff. But they were hustlers. They worked. There was not a time where they wanted for anything. They didn't want for anything. They went, they got it. Grandpa had that. He made sure he was a protector of the family, and they started off shotguns and then okay, somebody's gonna come to the door.
I remember we were jumping on the bed back there one day, and he had a fit because we didn't know the shotgun was underneath. I'm like, okay.
But there were people that they were strong. They took care of their family, and they know what they went through to get to that. Because we've heard those stories. We've heard how they had to sit in the back of the bus or whatever. He came out of Louisiana, Shreveport area, John. You know about down Louisiana. They moved up to Detroit for a reason, to get away from all of that. And we heard those stories.
That's the story.
But I grew up believing that all Black folks had a house in the city and a cottage on the lake in the country. I grew up believing that every black family had that because we had it.
Yeah.
We had it.
Absolutely.
And I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Everybody doesn't have that.
No.
So we saw that growing up,
Right,
where they had a cottage up in Holly Lake. We saw that, and we were like,
Yeah.
that's normal, but it wasn't normal.
But it wasn't normal.
It wasn't normal
No.
to have
Yeah,
that.
like we'd
So.
be going to, you know, Trinidad and to
Yeah.
Jamaica
Right,
and to
right.
Mexico.
Mhm.
Or they sent me to law school in England that summer.
Mhm.
And I have a friend who would say, "You did for the summer?"
Yeah.
And or my first week in college, I was 16, and this young lady says, "I won't be here that long." I said, "Well, why not?" She says, "Well, I decided I'm getting married." I said, "Well, how can you do that?" I said, "You just started college and you gotta get your master's or PhD." She said, "I don't know what kind of house you grew up in, but our people don't live like that."
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. They go to school
Yeah.
to
So
be
my mother,
yeah,
when I went
husband.
home, I said, I
Yes.
didn't know I didn't have to go to college. She said, you didn't need to know.
Right.
Okay?
It wasn't it was not an
No.
option for us.
Right.
No, you were going to school.
That's right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because I had said something to my mom and dad. I said, yeah, I'd really love to go to trade school. And I wanted to open up one of the first women automotive shops and cater to women. And one, they told me, well, girls don't do that kind of stuff. And they were like, no, we need you to go and have an education. I'm like, but you know what? In 18 months, I'll be a millionaire. And because I intend to franchise this thing, and they were looking at me like,
I understand completely.
I don't remember you saying that. You never told me.
I did well.
I understand.
I think for my
They thought that I had just lost my ever-loving mind. But I'm like, you gotta understand something. Working with your hands. Look at the houses of the people in our neighborhood who are trade people. We had the plumber who had a heated pool. And his kids swam in the wintertime, had 5 kids, every one of them had a car. His only daughter had a horse. We had the carpenter who had the baddest split level house on the block. And I think we had an electrician who was in the neighborhood and had a beautiful home. And I'm like, you want me to what? I got to go
That's
do
a whole
what?
different thing.
That was
They
a
weren't your
whole
color either. They weren't your
You be
color.
professional. Yeah.
We'll get in that. That's next visit. Next visit.
Oh yeah, they were, and they were men.
Yeah.
So at that time,
Yeah.
women just
Yeah,
did
we
not
don't
do that.
We didn't do that.
But I was willing to make the sacrifice and break the ceiling. I really was.
You would tell you on
We
your own
didn't have
money.
that.
I
We
was
didn't have that.
Go ahead, Mom. Go ahead, Mom.
You have an uncle
What you
that
about
comes
to
from
say?
New York and one from Wisconsin, and everyone on that North Carolina black college is saying, "We saw your uncle, we saw your dad. You better get all the Paris kids together. They better be where they should be." They would fly in, see our face, and fly back. Now, never knew when they were gonna show up.
I mean, it's like we did not know Uncle EJ.
Oh yeah.
Uncle EJ.
Still.
Yes.
All our lives, all we knew him was as Uncle EJ.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah.
And then one day, it was Sunday evening. We always watched 60 Minutes. And Daddy was like, we have got to watch 60 Minutes tonight. We have got to watch 60 Minutes tonight. Barbara, hurry up and get dinner done. We have got to do it. I mean, he had to have 60 minutes uninterrupted. And we were like, well, what's happening? What's happening? And he said, I can't tell you. It's a surprise. We sitting down, and Bill Bradley comes on. He said, it is my great pleasure to introduce you all to the world-renowned Dr. Edwin J. Nichols. We didn't know who that was. I mean, his first name. And Uncle EJ is sitting there like, it's a pleasure to be here. As pretty as he is. And I'm like, Daddy, that's Uncle EJ.
We didn't know that.
He didn't tell us who he was.
But they had a habit of not telling us.
They
Right.
never
Yeah,
told
right.
us who
See,
they
Exactly.
were.
They
Yeah.
were family members.
Yeah.
They were family.
Yeah, they were family.
So you wouldn't.
It's like when Wayne Embry
Oh yeah.
and Val Phillips would come to the house. Your daddy and mommy would come to the house.
An artisan.
The artisans
yeah.
would come to the
Yeah.
house.
Friends.
We didn't know who these people were
No.
other than so and so's
They were just friends.
parents.
They were friends.
That's all.
And they were friends of our mother. You know, when Gerard Hankins from the band
Yes,
came
yes,
to the
yes.
house.
Mhm.
And it was after I had told Daddy I really want to look into banking as a career.
Y'all keep going. Keep
Next
going.
thing
Keep
I
going.
know, Gerard Hankins is coming to the house because my dad, he said, your daddy said you're interested in banking. And I'm like, yes, sir, I am. And I said, I'd really like to learn as much as I can about it.
Yeah.
You didn't know who he was.
I had no clue who he was. I knew he was Daddy's friend.
That's
Daddy's
all.
friend, that's all.
And he said, well, do
you
you know who I am?
Mhm.
I said, no, sir, I know you're a friend of my dad's.
Yeah.
And I was real respectful and everything. He said, well, I'm the president of the Black Bank, North Milwaukee State
Yeah.
Bank.
Yeah.
And I'd like to offer you an internship this summer. I'm looking at him like, for real?
Oh yeah.
He not only gave me an opportunity to work at the bank, but the next summer, he opened the door at First Wisconsin National Bank for an internship there and introduced me to the VP of operations, who was black, one of his buddies, who walked me in, and I'm like, oh my God.
That's how it works.
This is how it works.
It is.
Oh my
And it
God.
went further. My first day,
I was
after
a white girl
leaving
at that
one
moment.
job as a lawyer to the next, I walked in and I saw all these people. And then I saw where the secretaries were. And the secretary says, who are you? I said, what do you mean? She says, they have food and everything waiting for you. I said, what do you mean? And then I looked around and I thought, oh, everybody in this office I grew up with. Because at that time, in Sherman Park, we were the only black people there. We had moved from Brooklyn with 5 Jewish fellas who were friends of my dad's who got out of law school together, and that's what we were. And years later, there was a lawyer who says, how come these people always ask me to go to lunch? I said, what you mean? They don't ask us anything, we don't even know their name. I didn't say anything, I said, I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, because you see, there's no need for them to feel.
They don't need to know.
They didn't need to know because they didn't need to feel a lesson. In my mind.
Right.
They're all there doing the same work I'm doing, taking care of their families.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
no need saying, well, I didn't grow up like you.
Right.
No.
Right.
Because sometimes you do better saying
Nothing.
Nothing. Absolutely.
and just eventually say, you want to come have lunch with us? You know what I mean? You inch them in.
Right.
Absolutely.
But it's not easy.
Yeah, it's
Well,
not. It's not.
I'm gonna get the last word,
Yeah.
and I want to say some things, and we're gonna wrap this up. Get
Okay.
back to the party. Say your spiel.
No, I was just gonna say one of the things that I just love about my parents is the sacrifice.
Yes.
The sacrifice. I remember when they were getting their degrees, and one would get the degree, and then the other one would go. They would trade off so that the kids,
That's right.
us,
Yeah.
the sisters, were not left behind.
That's
Yeah.
right.
You know, because they could have just gotten a degree, you know, got babysitter.
Yeah, got babysitter.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
Like
but
people
they,
do now.
but yeah,
Yeah.
but they didn't do that.
Yeah.
We lived in
No.
you all know, my mom and my dad bought a house. And when my dad went to down to Harry, my grandmother, my grandma, grandpa,
Right, big
great
mom.
grandma,
Yeah,
big
big
mom,
mom,
we all lived in the same
Yes, I knew
house.
that.
Love, I mean,
Yeah.
to this day, it's like one of my favorite memories. I love family,
Yeah.
but it was like we were all together.
Yeah, yeah.
And, you even though my dad was away a lot, and my mom was working, so, she's gone, but we were always, we didn't have to lack for anything.
Right.
And, growing up, you really recognize the sacrifice.
Yes.
That was made.
Absolutely.
That's that sacrifice that I
That's
just,
a good one here. Yeah.
that I, it sticks out in my mind because we were living on 12th and Febrance in a duplex, 2-bedroom house.
Yeah.
And just the sacrifices that they made to make sure that we had, and we never felt like we were ever in need of anything because they made sure that you didn't feel like that. Even if they had to not have, you were going to have.
Y'all probably never saw that either.
And we never saw it.
And even when we know they were going through issues, they never really showed that. We never felt it.
Y'all shouldn't have to put that out.
And that's what we did with you.
Yeah, and that's never
When we had do stuff.
Yeah. That was exactly.
My bottom line is we should always send subliminal messages.
Yeah.
Because you know what's gonna happen? A week, a month, a year or two later, your relative or your child will come up to you and say, guess what I decided to do? You already told me.
I slid it in
I do
there.
that a lot.
Yes.
And then I just smile and say, really?
Yeah.
But with that, always gotta come up with some kind of communication
Yeah.
to keep everybody together. Everybody.
I'm gonna wrap it up.
Okay, yeah.
All right.
Beautiful. Let me say, get
We
some
wanna
flowers,
thank
give
you
my flowers.
letting us
Yeah.
have a voice.
But we lost a beautiful lady in Barbara. But I'm pretty sure she with us now.
Oh,
That's where she is. She's right there
Just
looking at all.
Yes, she is.
beautiful, classy, educated, all that.
Oh, yeah.
So like, I'm glad we did that last segment. So now,
Yes.
when my friends ask why you do so much, okay, I get it.
Absolutely.
Fam, like I get it. I
Absolutely.
understand it. And I gotta thank all of y'all
Well,
for
thank
that.
you, and we thank
And
you.
I thank
Glad
y'all
you keep your
especially
legacy
because
Yes.
you know my wife, you sit down with her, y'all all can see a little bit of yourselves in her.
Oh,
So
me too.
that means y'all being around y'all, you
Yeah.
get something right. Get something right for.
Yeah.
I had a template to look at. And I'm blessed to have that because a lot of brothers don't.
No, they
I was
don't.
gonna
have
say,
that. A lot of brothers don't have that.
They
Like,
do
I
what they
just-
looking at?
Right, you
So-
said how I feel about it
Yeah.
as a young black man
Facts.
with a family.
Facts.
Yeah.
But
Taking on that responsibility
Yeah.
of having a family,
Yeah.
having children, and
Yeah.
being a provider, and
Yep.
doing
No other way
all
to
that
be.
you
Right.
can.
Yeah.
But there's so many that I never put people in boxes, but there's so many out there that don't.
Yeah.
And so you're the example.
Yeah.
You know, when
Yeah.
young men
Trying to
see
be-
you,
Yeah.
you're a young guy. I mean, and I think about my church. I mean, it's like a whole lot of other churches.
Yeah.
We don't have a lot of young people, so they're no, the models that others
Yeah.
can see.
Yeah.
The young ones coming up, but you're in that generation where now you're the model.
Yeah.
You're the one that young men and young women can look up to and
Yes.
see what you all are doing in your lives.
Yeah.
And how you all
You're
carry
miles
us,
away.
and how
Yeah.
you are to, your children. It's
Yeah.
obvious in your children.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, be proud of that.
Yeah.
That's right. Be proud of that.
Embrace that.
Yep, absolutely.
Embrace that.
But the self-sufficiency that you're building for yourself, in that you don't have to depend
Right.
on someone to give you
Yes.
a paycheck.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, that has truly made, Courtney was 3 when I started my company. And so she has never known the other career that I had. But she has always known Mom working out of that office, in the house, and having that flexible schedule. but being able to take those kind of trips that a lot of her other friends were taking. And she told me one day, she said, and she was in high school, and she said, my friend said they wish they had a mother like you. And I'm like, why?
Yeah.
I said, most of your friends have two parents in the household. You just have me. And she said, well, they said, you're always there for me. And their parents are always working. They're never there. And I'm like, how sad.
Right.
So that this whole journey that you're taking is going to give you that time with your family. Because one of the things I said to myself was, it was like one of the last few years I was in corporate, and I had to let my boss know, look, I gotta leave early because I gotta take my daughter to the doctor. And he gave me this look, and every one of them, their wives didn't work, they were at home. And I just said to myself at that point, you know what? You flip this time thing because the clock's gonna start clicking. And I will never ever ask anybody else ever again for permission to go take care of my family.
That's right.
Like your stuff.
That's right.
So that timer started going for me. I'm like,
Like your stuff, Auntie. But I'm gonna just say,
do it.
We're proud of you, Mark. We
Sure
sure
are.
are.
Yes, we
I
are.
enjoyed
Yes,
listening and watching you.
thank you. I'm gonna keep that going. We're trying to build. I'm gonna keep it going.
Where's your mama? You know I'm proud of you.
Thank
Yeah.
you. We in the world.
That's my godson.
Yeah.
My team in the world, and I'm gonna just say, Carl and Robert, y'all babies doing good.
Yes.
That's
Y'all babies doing good. So, Queens Talk. We're gonna wrap this up. I'm gonna edit it up, and it's gonna be out for y'all soon. But I thank all of y'all, and like I'm gonna put some pressure on the men. Y'all came down here and did this.
Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely. We need to get them to do that. Okay, I'm saying, we challenge you to do that.
Bad,
That's right, Shalon.
but it's love, and that's a wrap.
That's right.
That's a wrap.